Hello viewers, Super GT here, and this here is the Ford Mustang SVT Cobra R. I'm going to be taking it online into B class. It's a class I haven't been into in a long time. In fact, it's only really just returned to the game, or to Forza, because of course it was always in Forza 6, but it's new to Forza 7, or fairly new, and I'm going to be taking around this first race at Suzuka West. And the tune's by me, yeah, so probably isn't the best, but we're about to find out. From about 5th place on the grid. Oh my god, who's this? That spells trouble, if I may say so. We've already been overtaken by a dune buggy, that doesn't bode well. This guy's trying to fit through the tiniest of gaps. The truck is taking up half the circuit, not making it easy to pass into 130R. Actually through there okay. Looking behind the truck's okay. This Evo causing a bit of trouble, a bit impatient, trying to get through. Up the inside of the Cosworth. He's just going to make contact with the beach buggy. Let's go through the third apex. And receiving a bump from behind and just having a look behind, and there was a massive gulf. There was a huge gap between the buggy and 6th place. So I can only presume that the truck of death, well, many people would have met their fate around that corner. Let's put it that way. Into the hairpin. The Mayor's Manx kind of put himself in an awkward position, and he didn't really want to back out at all, even with this big old Mustang cutting across him. Now into the chicane. This is going to get interesting, and I brake way too late. This guy braked pretty early, and well, I'm going to have to back out and let him go. Bit clumsy. But as we look behind, you can see there's still a big gap. So winding round towards Spoon Curve, that Ford seems to have 0 top end speed, so quite easily past him. But getting shoved wide by the Myers Manx is going to let him back in. But now we have a very long straight. In fact, the longest on this circuit, on this configuration of Suzuka. So I'm going to easily go back past the Ford. If I get beaten by this beach buggy, then I might as well just sell the game, because that is simply not on. Although to be honest, I drove that car in, I think it was S-Class, and it is a bit of a rocket, and I did beat quite a few people with it, so that thing isn't actually totally useless. So then through there, hitting that apex nicely. This is going to be one of those races where you're gaining on those runaway leaders at the beginning. So the way that the lobby's often sorted is the faster people often are starting at the front of the pack. Although I do sense that they have changed it to more random grids recently. But on this occasion here, we can clearly see that some fairly quick guys have got out to the front and are getting away. So it's going to be one of those races where you're just kind of running down the laps, trying to catch up the best you can. So coming into this corner, I see the signs of something very, very familiar. So welcome to Planet Earth, hosted by David Super GT Attenborough. And these are the signs, these are the tracks of a cutter. It's a very common species of animal in the Forza Motorsport kingdom. Oh, and there he is. He's actually not too far away. Perhaps we can catch up with him. So this is a very common species of animal. They love to eat gravel and grass. In fact, that's their natural habitat. But please do join me next week for another episode of Planet Earth, where we'll look at the weird and wonderful animal kingdom in the world of Forza. But we're going to try and catch up with this cutting animal. And he's just around the corner, and I believe he's driving the Honda S2000, which, if memory serves me correctly, was always a good car in B class. Always up there on the leaderboards, always up there being used by the top guys in the lobby, or the people winning the races, which isn't necessarily the best people. But let's see how it goes anyway. Coming up into 130R for the third time. So it's good to have 5 laps, because as we all know, some of the races are totally stupid lengths. In fact, we've gone for 3.5 minutes already, and that in some cases is how long a race is, which is really too short. And I did sense that I was catching up with this guy. He did go a little bit wide into the third corner, and I think that gap is coming down, although the gap to the leader isn't really coming down too much. So winding round the quick kink into the hairpin, I'm going to go quite deep in and then cut back with that late apex. This car kind of slides quite nicely through there, and that's not particularly slow. It kind of went through there okay. And there are my suspicions confirmed as this guy goes for another plentiful cut. I guess his diet of grass and gravel has to be seen to once a lap at least for full sustenance. Otherwise he'll collapse and die. But I'm going to hope to try and overhaul him on lap 4, which we're coming round to now. So this race is brewing up quite nicely. The gap to 4th place is opening up, which well, it's not going to trouble me at all unless I make a really big error. So we don't really have to worry about that. Just thinking about going forwards now. Striking the apex of 130R very nicely. The curb on the outside just wanting to put us wide, but not quite doing it. I turned a little bit too early for that corner, having to back out slightly. And I'm getting a little bit closer, not too much though. I think it's about the same gap as it was on the previous lap. But we'll see if we can reel these two guys in, both in Honda S2000s. As I said, decent cars for this class. But I'm trying out this car. It's a car that I've always liked. It's one I drove a lot in Forza Motorsport 2. I'm pretty sure it was a really good car back then, and it seems to be one now. And in fact, I tuned it myself, as I said earlier, so it could be a lot quicker than this, because you know I'm not the best tuner in the world. That award obviously goes to JSR Lee Campbell. Thank you, by the way. So then this guy, he kind of cut on the exit, although I think more from just accelerating too early, and it probably slowed him down if anything. Bit of contact. And look around the outside. It's not often a good place to go for a move. Around the outside is spoon curve. He goes way too wide. I guess that does confirm that he does need some gravel or some AstroTurf every lap or so. So that's a good reason why he just drove wide there. So into second, with that gap coming down, although still somewhat comfortable for this guy, somewhat comfortable. Still have a good second or two to get down, and then I've still got to overtake him, which is pretty tricky because I'd imagine he has the handling capability and probably the brakes. So we really have to rely on power, I'd imagine, or him to make a mistake, which could easily happen. Let's see if it does. And we still, of course, got the other S2000 right on our tail, so we could always go backwards a position. So through the Degners, through there okay. The car feeling solid and not too bad at all. Fairly easy to control, if I may say so. Into the hairpin for the last time. In fact, that gap is coming right down. Maybe I do have the better brakes. So it felt like I gained into there. And on the exit, he's not really going to pull away too much. Into the chicane. This is a really tricky chicane to get right. And he's gone in a little bit too hot. Just about recovers and avoids the wall. But I'm going to get a run here as we go round the right hand kink into spoon curve. He's going to go defensive. He knows I'm there, but then he does eventually open up that gap. So I'm up the inside firmly, then into the second apex. Oof, I think I held my line. It looked a bit dodgy, and I won't be surprised if a couple of people hate me for that, but I think I kind of held a central line in there. And we're going to cross the line. So a bit of the old Darude sandstorm to keep a couple of you guys happy. It returns. Let's go then. This is the second race of the video, and we're at Watkins Glen. American car, American circuit. From pole position, this should go well. But when you get on the receiving end of a punt in turn 1, with the whole pack swarming on you, you can tell it's going to be a bad one. Into the S's. And, well, the guy on the left kind of didn't really realise what was going on there, and we get pinched in the middle of the sandwich, down to 10th, nearly last now. So I'm going to go back past this guy who's drifting all over the place. So then now we're going to have to test out this car's overtaking ability around what is a really good track, Watkins Glen, absolutely brilliant circuit. So then around the outside of this guy, I'm going to kind of hold him narrow, as you can see, just give him a car width on the inside, and he kind of respects that, to be fair to him. You often do that. You force someone narrow, and most times they will just punt you wide. This guy's seemingly very respectful, so that's good to see. I'm going to try and put some pressure on this guy, the Frenchman, into the next corner, and well, he clearly felt the pressure because he just forgot to brake. He goes straight on into the tyre wall. So if only every overtake would be that easy, I don't think they will be, but we have 7 people to test it out on, as this Jaguar looks for a pass back into the tight right, although it does open up quite a lot on the exit. You can keep a lot of speed through that corner. This corner is a little bit more difficult to get right. And contact ahead, so the S2000 very wide. I'm going to gain another position, so that's fairly easy couple of overtakes there, gaining from 9th to 7th. And this is the kind of thing you've got to make the most of. If someone's going to punt each other wide, you've got to nip up the inside, make the most of it, get up the position for free with minimal time loss. These two guys running side by side, which is obviously a suboptimal line. So I go in deep, go for the cutback, up into 5th. That was a good second half to that lap, from 9th to 5th. 4 positions gained. Into the first corner, he's going to come back for a dive bomb. I'll go for the cutback, just misjudge it, go into the back of him. So if I could have pulled off that cutback, I might be stood in 5th. As it stands, I'm battling here for 7th. There's this guy through the S's. This time a bit more respectful, people holding their lines, which is good to see. Then running out of the S's onto the back straight, forced to the right hand side, and then through the middle. They just about give me space, which is good to see. Plenty of things good to see in this race, apart from maybe the start. They're coming into turn number 4. This guy is going to go for yet another lunge. Really clumsy, if I must say so, a bit of contact, and he's going to slide. And on the exit, because of his incessant sliding, he's going to lose another position. So out of all of that, he tried to gain 5th, but now he's down in 7th. So it just shows you, sometimes you just need to hold back and be a bit more patient, because he dive bombed me twice. To be fair, the first move kind of worked, although he would have lost a lot of time. That one didn't work. So I think he just needs to calm down a bit and just wait for a better opportunity to pass. Or just get better at overtaking, one of the two. I don't mind. So now, in 6th place, I don't really want to finish here, I've done enough of that. So can we get past the Hungarian around the outside? Probably won't work. Not always the best place to overtake around the outside, so he just slots in ahead. The gap opening up between 3rd and 4th, so 4th might be the best we can deal with here. But of course it is still a long race, each lap over 2 minutes, so we're looking at an 8-minute race here in total. Or is it over a 2-minute lap? I think it will be actually, yeah, just about. So then it might be deja vu here with these two guys going side by side into the final corner. Not quite, but the space does open up, so I go up the inside and claim 5th position. So a good little race here developing, plenty of overtaking going on. The only downside is of course that we're losing lots of time to the leaders, so that gap opening up quite steadily. You can see they're a good 3-4 seconds ahead. So through turn 1, this guy's going to run a little bit wide, come back, and I just about misjudge it and didn't quite leave enough room to get back on, and we just make contact and the pair of us lose time. So this team seems to be one of those topsy-turvy races. You gain a position, you lose one, and you're going up and down constantly. But now finally I can get going with this car on the main straight, or the long straight, and begin to pull away. So the speed on this car, the acceleration at least 7.8, which I think is fairly high for B class, and it kind of proved to be so there. Now this is the beginning of lap number 4, or the end of 3. It's turned into a defensive race up against a Honda S2000. Let's see if I can hold him off for one more lap. So then into turn number 1, using plenty of the curb on the inside and a little bit on the exit as well. So then into the S's. This should be flat out in this kind of car. In B class it should be okay. So obviously just keep to the right hand side the best you can, then swing across to the left. Easily flat out this time around. Now we saw the straight line speed of this car, fairly decent, as I typically would expect from an American car. So I'm going to make the most of that as I can, make basically the biggest gap I possibly can on this straight now before the corners come up again, and then presumably that S2000 begins to reel me back in again. Let's see if that happens. In fact, the gap actually staying over 100 feet, so that bodes well for now. Although that was a bit of a mistake through the apex of turn 5. Approaching the toe corner, one of the most difficult corners to get right with the camber and the gradient. Very, very difficult, especially on the throttle on the exit. The car just wanting to slide away as you go through that second half of that corner. So I briefly saw the proximity arrow, just pulling away though as we round out towards turn 7, and I don't think he's going to be able to get past unless he really forces his way through. So a little bit of a different race here. In the first race it was very much an attacking race, coming through from 5th and then just about winning on the final lap. This is not going to quite be in the same vein, a bit more defensive on this final lap, which is, I mean, it's good. It's a good thing. It's like a set piece kind of thing. Not all races are going to be attacking. Sometimes you're on the final lap, you're not going to get third. I'm not going to gain a position, so it's all about just preserving what I've got. And in this case, I've just about done that. I'm gonna finish the race in 4th place. There we go, just in the line. Now something very quick, just a quick clip. Circuit of the Americas. I was a little bit off pace on this one. A couple of guys using some of the classic cars, the Shelby Daytona, Ferrari 250, which seem to be really fast. Definitely quicker than this car. And then coming up to the line, the Beetle's going to get past momentarily. And as I crossed the line, it said I was 5th, but then it says I'm 4th. And I won that by 6 thousandths of a second, or I beat him by 6 thousandths of a second. A very close finish indeed. You don't get many as close as that. So this time starting from pole again. Now it's the short version of Hockenheim. Plenty of carnage up behind. Now let's see if I can successfully defend as I almost get pummeled into from the rear end. As obviously that guy didn't get the memo that we're doing the short version and not the normal one. So then I just about survived that. That's the first tick box done. Can you survive turn 1 and 2 here at Hockenheim short? Once you've done that, you're 90% there, because that's basically the main sticking point of this track. If you're on the front of the grid, where you get mullered from the rear end. But as we look behind briefly, as we come into the stadium section, it did look like we're going to have a Honda S2000 on our tail once again. But before he gets to us, I'm just going to have to maximise every corner as best I can, just to prolong the moment that he does approach us and finally catch up. So then the car's actually really easy to drive. They're a little bit stiff, but you know, not too bad. He does like to go around the corners, decent power, so a good car all round, I would say. Into the first corner, making the most of the curb on the inside. The curb here, you can pretty much pummel that one, and the car doesn't really react too badly, so that one can be taken, I think. So then into turn number 2, getting on the throttle really early actually, because this straight here is a fairly lengthy straight, especially in B class. And then you've got this really fast kink to the left. You often have to take 2 wheels onto the grass to absolutely maximise. It's a weird strategy in Forza, where often dipping 2 wheels across the grass, keeping 2 wheels on the track but tipping 2 wheels across the grass, kind of is often the very fastest way to drive on this game. It's weird how it works, but sometimes the grass can just kind of help turn the car. It's strange how it works, and obviously it doesn't really work in real life, but you know, a game isn't real life. It's not always meant to simulate exactly what real life is like, and in this case this weird little method of using the grass can be helpful. Well, of course, just with 2 wheels, you don't want to be going all 4 wheels off the track, ideally. Into the first corner once again. This is the 3rd lap now, so it's going to be a very defensive race. And I can see getting very close is the S2000. So I'm going to cover the inside line and make him go around the outside. And I'm going to preserve the position for now. It's very important when you go defensive to just hold the inside line and don't drive out too quickly, because there's a very good chance they can get you on a cutback. So there's that's what I'm talking about, just running 2 wheels across the grass. Now I did, obviously talk about that guy at Suzuka cutting, but I think he was about 2 car widths beyond the white line. So it's a little bit different, I would say. Now into the stadium, the 3rd time. So it's going to be quite a tense race here from here to the end. The S2000, I think, is clearly a couple of attempts a lap quicker. But if I just position my car in the correct places, in the correct position, and there's little he can do apart from maybe just tapping me wide or something to get through into the lead. So let's see then, with 2 laps to go, can I preserve the lead and finally win another race? Well, I did win the Suzuka race, but that was very close stuff. This one will be a fine victory from pole position, I would say. Into turn number 2. That's actually really probably the best line I've taken. You can actually take a little bit of that curve on the exit, although you do have to watch out. You don't want to run too wide onto the grass. So this short version of Hockenheim is actually a cool little track, and I think there do need to be quite a lot more of the smaller circuits. I think maybe they're neglected a little bit because you know, the lower classes in this game are often very popular because the racing can be a lot closer. So in that sense, you do need a lot of the smaller configurations. So maybe some tracks such as Alton Park and you know these kind of smaller circuits would be quite welcome in the Forza Motorsport series, because a lot of the new circuits we get are often Formula 1 or IndyCar kind of circuits, or GT car kind of circuits, which are well suited to those kind of cars. But when you start racing around Yas Marina in C class, it does feel a little bit too slow, depending on the configuration though. And that plus the track is just crap anyway. There is that. So then, final lap. He's extending a little bit, but it's not really going to give him enough of a run into turn number 2. So I can just about hold my line without having to go defensive this time around. Is he going to be able to find something to get through? I don't think he's been driving as consistently as he would like, because he did put pressure on me at the beginning of lap 3, but that's about as close as he got. And I think I've kind of stuck to my guns and not really succumbed to the pressure too much. I just know that yes, he is quicker, but if I just kind of hold my line and just brake where I'm meant to brake and just position my car on the racing line, there's little he can do other than ramming me wide to get through. So there's just a couple of corners left. I did see that proximity area coming up. Now there's a back marker here which could throw a spanner into the works in an S2000. Moves over to the right hand side. Is he going to let us through? Does drive very wide on the exit. I'm also going to move over to the right hand side just to make sure. Look at that, the rejoin, almost wiping out my competitor for second place. And there are the results. So the S2000 was a little bit quicker by about half a second, but overall is a really good race, a bit of a defensive one. But 3 very different races I think for you there. But I do hope you enjoyed all 3. Do let me know your thoughts, of course. And this was the Ford Mustang SVT Cobra R from the year 2000. The tune is by me if you'd like to try it for B class. But that is the end of the video. As always guys, do let me know your thoughts, subscribe for more of the same, and smash the like button. I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Listen.